Hi, it's Danny Fleming.
And Marcus Collins from MMA Properties.
And this is what happens when you go live.
That's right. Now I know what live TV is like.
So the internet's down, having problems, all of that sort of stuff. I'm heavily down with allergies. I've been popping pills and everything like this. So if I have to disappear for a minute every so often, I'll be back though. So anyway, live streaming. We're live streaming on YouTube, Facebook and Twitch. And we're doing Unlocking the Hidden Potential of Your Home. So let's get going.
Smart moves made here.
Why?
Why do we do this? Well, buying and selling a home is just way too important to leave to chance. You just can't do that. Yeah, it's way too important to let every decision be guided by emotions, first impressions. You really need some solid analysis and data behind it. Yep. And that's the way you, guess what, unlock the hidden potential in your home.
So what do we mean by that? So in the agenda, we have 5 pillars that will maximize your sales price when you're selling your home. Tonight, we're going to cover all of them, but really dive deep in preparation and also staging. But what are the 5 pillars? The 5 pillars are smart decisions, preparation, staging, marketing, and excellence through teamwork. As I said, we're going to dive deeper on 2 of them, but you can find, if you've missed, some of the other things, that's okay. We have recordings of these on our blog page, on our website. And also after we've covered those sorts of things, we're going to go into what does selling in 2021 look like? And steps to success. Where do we go from there? So
smart decisions. All right.
And if I have to disappear for every couple of minutes,
that's fine. You probably get me a drink as well because I was so busy running around getting the internet fixed that I forgot to make a drink.
I can share mine with you.
We'll make this happen. All right.
So, by the way, he's my husband. Okay, it's okay if we share drinks.
So it's relatively easy. In fact, it's easy to get data today. But what's much more difficult is to make sense of that, to do some analysis behind that, to see exactly what's behind the data that you hear, the headline numbers that are sometimes produced. What does it actually mean? Are those headline numbers real, for example? All of that's there. So there's a lot to go into smart decisions, much of it around about that kind of notion of data. And in fact, last week now, and once a month, I do an update on what's happening in both Lexington and Arlington.
And the local market,
right.
Yes.
Deep dive into those towns. Really figure out exactly what's going on in those times.
And we're going to be covering more towns in the following months. So it's not just Arlington and Lexington, because we work in a lot of different towns.
So, having said that, this is really why, because data's easy to get. The information that underpins it, the analysis behind it, much more difficult. So that's why we take the time to explain. We're serious to learning about the data points and details, and we really do study our local markets pretty obsessively, as you can imagine. So,
you didn't miss me when I disappeared,
no, I
did
didn't,
you?
Darling, no. So, 2020 summary. What happened in 2020?
Can I just jump in one sec? Because I meant to say this before. If you have any questions as we're going through any of this, then please don't hesitate to reach out in chat. I've got the laptop beside me. We'll try and answer those questions while we're going. So just go with that.
Okay,
now you can go.
Okay, 2020 summary. So what happened in 2020? We were actually, this time last year, we were right in the middle of the lockdown, if you can remember. So 12 months ago, here we are in the middle of April. It was right in the middle of the lockdown. We really weren't sure what was going to happen in the market throughout the rest of 2020. When we were going to come out, what exactly what the repercussions were going to be on the 2020 housing market. So what happened? So in many towns, we saw a larger number of sellers in the market. Some towns about the same, but it's rare to find a town where we saw less sellers coming into the market. What's clear is that we saw an increased number of buyers in the market. As soon as we got to early May, the buyers came back into the market in force, and that in turn meant the sellers could then put their homes on the market. This was very much a shift from what we saw in 2019, because if you remember back to late 2018, 2019, there was much discussion around an economic correction. That turns out that actually happened prior to COVID in early 2020, but we really did see this kind of shift in 2020 to surprisingly a more buoyant housing market. And so we saw positive price appreciation in a large number of towns. So, big picture, there's a lot going on clearly. We're still in the middle of the pandemic, moving through the vaccinations. There is still that economic uncertainty. Some parts of the economy have bounced back very strongly. Other parts, service sector, for example, not so strongly. So what's the long-term implications going to be for our economy? New administration, of course, and at what point will the vaccinations be at such a level that we can get back to normal? I think we're beginning to see that already. But overall, the housing market fared very well last year, and I think it will continue to fare very well in 2021. So let's think about what 2021 predictions. The way I do this, I usually split it into buyers and sellers. So let's talk about buyers first of all. There are a large number of buyers in the market, a far larger number than we've seen for a number of years. Slight shift in what they're looking for. They're looking perhaps less at commute. Perhaps they're only going into the office 1, 2, 3 days a week. More in terms of a larger home because they're going to be working from home. So there's a slight shift in what the buyer's requirements are. But still, there are a large number of buyers looking in the market today, and that will continue throughout 2021. In terms of the number of sellers, there's a large number of sellers too. They're looking, because of the buyer confidence, because there's talk around lots of buyers in the market and what will that mean for price appreciation. That means that there are a large number of buyers coming into the market. There are a couple of areas that make it, a couple of scenarios that make it a little difficult for sellers, of course. Perhaps if they have to buy before they sell, buying can be difficult in this market. But overall, the fact that we've got a very strong buyer market is bringing listings, sellers back into the market. So overall, a very positive picture for 2021. That's for sure. And we've seen that play out. Here we are now in mid-April. We've seen that play out really February, March, and now continuing in April as we see that large number of buyers in the market. So that's our predictions for 2021. Positive, continuing to be positive moving forward.
Yeah. Large migration of buyers. Buyers are, I think, and you probably mentioned this, but I had to disappear.
To get me something to drink, but I don't think that was
yeah, but I blew my nose. It's what we're seeing at the moment, probably different to any other period of time, is we're seeing a huge migration of people from across the country. People, I think, with COVID have started reevaluating what's important in their lives, what the priorities are and things, and whether it be warmth, moving south, whether it be being closer to family, whether it being in an area with lower priced homes. People are now starting to implement those, and we're seeing that happening all across the country. So huge migration of people.
So, okay.
Keep going.
I will keep going.
I thought I'd jump in on that.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Right, so let's get into the meat of what else around smart decisions we should talk about. One perennial topic in many towns, of course, is the topic of teardowns. And it's interesting, as we kind of take a little, open up teardowns just that little bit. Interesting to ask the question, when is a house actually a teardown? And if you kind of sit back and analyze it, it really is where the land value is greater than what a buyer would pay in this market. Now, think back 2 minutes ago when I said there are a large number of buyers in the market. That equation is rarely true. It is true in some cases, of course, but it's rarely true. And it's rarely true because of that large number of buyers in the market, and therefore the home buyer value is increasing and is more than the land value. Well,
just today we were reviewing offers. I've been reviewing offers on 2 homes today. One of them could have been a candidate for a teardown. In fact, a builder, I think it was 2 builders, made offers on the home, and we had 11 offers on them. but we've ended up selling the home for over 150K over where the builders were.
Wow.
They weren't prepared to go any higher, and yet a home buyer, absolutely, 150K more. I can't tell you too much more about that because, it's only just gone under like the last 10 minutes before we started.
And the reason behind that is clear. Buyers are taking a relatively, call it a medium-term perspective on this. Buying a home, they're going to be in there for 5, 10, in some cases maybe longer than that. So they're taking that medium to long-term perspective. A builder has to take a short-term perspective because they have to buy the home, they have to renovate or demolish and build new and then sell it. So their time span is not that long. Whereas a buyer can say, I'll pay just that little bit extra for the home because, you know what, in the time I'm going to own it, 10 years let's say, I will more than have made up for that little bit of extra I paid on the way in. So that's why the value a buyer will pay for a home far and exceeds. So a couple of other things to note about teardowns is who actually is telling you it's a teardown. So clearly the builders are telling you it's a teardown. That's how they make money. And they will tell you, of course, that they will pay top dollar for it. And as you know and I know, that's not strictly the case. Certainly that's not the case if they don't have to compete.
Yeah.
And so, it's pretty transparent when a builder says, I'll give you more than anybody, I'll give you top dollar for your home. It's kind of straightforward what exactly they're saying. Yeah, why wouldn't they say that? What's perhaps not quite as obvious is when an agent comes in and says, I think your home might be a candidate for a teardown. Why don't I introduce you to a builder that I know? You work out the details with him. I think that's your best course of action. What's happening behind the scenes here is this. The agent is saying, I will forego the commission on the sale of your home. Perhaps it's 700,000, let's say. In exchange, I will work with the builder to sell the new construction, where the commission will now be on a $2 million sale. So they're foregoing the commission on your sale in favor of the commission on the new construction. And the question really arises there is, who exactly is the agent working for? Are they working in your best interests, or are they working in their own and the developer's best interests? And in many cases, clearly it's the latter. So be cautious when you hear that my home is a teardown.
Yeah.
Let me give you just a couple of examples here of teardowns. I won't go into the details. Many of you may have seen this before, but here's an example of a home if on the face of it, as you would look at it, somewhat messy, perhaps a teardown. Turns out that the maximum builder would offer was $770. We listed it after some renovations of $839.
Not renovations, cosmetic improvements.
Listed at $839, and lo and behold, we sold it for $900,000. Far and away higher than what a builder would have paid for that home. That's one example. Let me give you another example here. Builders were offering, it's a smaller house, they were offering $550 for the home. We smartened it up, some cosmetic improvements to the home, listed it for $650, so we're already $100,000 ahead of the game here. We spent a little bit of money on the renovations, but lo and behold, when it was all finished, it sold for over $700,000. So we've gone from $550 to $700,000. And the reason both of these examples happened is because buyers saw that home and thought, this is what I'm looking for. A relatively modest home in what is an expensive town, if you think of Lexington, for example. A relatively modest home, few and far between. They're in short supply, but there are lots of buyers that want to move in, to that price and size of home. And so from that, we came up with the buyer or builder program. And so the idea behind this is that what a potential seller needs is two pieces of information. First of all, what will a buyer pay? Secondly, what will a developer pay? And then you can make a value judgment between those. If those numbers are relatively close and you really don't want the hassle of perhaps smartening up, moving out, then perhaps the developer option, the builder option is the right approach. If on the other hand, the difference between them is $100,000, $150,000, and it may well be those kind of numbers, then the buyer approach is the right way. But the idea here is to give you two bits of information so that you, the seller, can make that judgment. Which way do I want to go? Which is the most cost effective? Which is going to give me the highest return? Buyer route or builder route? And so that's where the buyer or builder program, that's where that came from. So, it's critical to ask those kind of big questions and know what's happening and why. And really to trust the people who represent you. Because what you know or what you don't know will really impact your outcome. And that's really the crux around smart decisions. Who are today's buyers is an interesting question.
This is good that you're doing the talk at the moment. I'm starting to. So
you've been like this for a few hours. Hopefully you'll.
I know.
You'll calm down
it's
in a few minutes.
Horrible.
Hopefully, yes.
I've dosed myself up big time.
All right.
In fact, I'm worried about how much stuff I've taken.
So, who are today's buyers? Interesting question, right? Because as you think about putting your home on the market, that they're the people you have to sell your home to. They're going to buy the home. So it's important to know what they're looking for, what the characteristics of them are, because that will tailor then how you prepare your home for market.
Unlocking the hidden potential
In your home.
Yep.
So this is it's called a population pyramid from 2015. Last time we got it from the Census Bureau. Hopefully we'll get an update pretty soon. But what it shows you is how many people are in each age bracket.
And male and female split apart.
Right. So two important bumps, if you will, in this information. The top one is the baby boomers, the children born just after World War II, now getting to retirement and therefore in the housing context, downsizing age. The lower orange bar is the millennials, beginning to think about their first home. Excuse me. Now, when you think about, I'll pick an example of Arlington, closest to where we are here this evening. It's perfect for both those two groups of potential buyers. The downsizers living in Belmont or Lexington or Winchester, Arlington's very close by. So your circle of friends remains the same. House prices in Arlington are cheaper. Marginally, I would say. Average price here in Lexington, for example, is 1.5 million probably this year. Average price in Arlington, wait for it, probably $1 million this year, by the time we get to the end of this year. So, but it's more affordable than the towns that surround it. So a great destination for those downsizers. For the first-time home buyers coming out of Boston and Somerville and Cambridge, it's a great destination. It's got a vibrant town, good school system, easy access to Boston. So all of a sudden, there's a town that sees itself in the crosshairs, if you will, of two distinct groups. And it's really those two groups which are driving the housing market. And when, for example, a first-time home buyer buys in Arlington, that allows somebody in Arlington to kind of move up the housing ladder. So it's driving the housing market from the downsizers and from the first-time home buyers. So, in fact, almost half of home buyers were first-time home buyers, which is kind of interesting. And if you think about them, this is kind of a little bit cliched, but they're all busy, aren't we all, of course? And even
Any buyer is busy.
Right,
I mean, we're all busy.
Right. This one's even a little bit more cliched, but follow with me on this one. Prior generations, I think I'm a prior generation as I think about it now, unfortunately. We kind of knew how to fix things. In fact, I was talking to our accountant in the office today, and she was saying exactly the same thing. I know how to fix things. I was taught how to fix things. Next generation, not so much.
But it's also not that they don't know how to fix things. Sometimes they don't have the time to fix things too. We were talking about just the slide before. They're busy. So it might be more cost effective for people this current generation, to pay for things to be done, let alone the fact that, some of them don't know how to do it.
The challenge with that, of course, is that when they need to pay for help, after they bought in what is a very strong market, they just don't have any money left over. They push themselves, and we see this week in, week out, offers being put in on homes where the buyer is borrowing 80, 85, 90%. They don't have that. They're being forced to pay the kind of numbers you see, even in modest towns, but they don't have any money left over. And so it kind of leaves them with something of a dilemma. Today's buyers really want a home that is fresh and move-in ready, or they want one they can invest in. And if they want one they can invest in, they're looking to have a discount on that, because that's the only way they can afford to do those renovations, cosmetic updates, whichever word you tend to use. So that's the reason why. Think about those two kind of juxtaposition there. They either want move-in ready, or they want a discount if the home is not move-in ready.
So that they can get it to move-in ready and be something that they could be happy living in.
Exactly. So kind of keep those two ideas, because this is what really is going to be the a key emphasis on the rest of the presentation here. In terms of the impact of the internet on real estate, let's not talk about the internet, given the running around I had to do 30 minutes ago.
And I'm streaming, and Marcus is saying we haven't got internet downstairs, so he's running cables around it.
I'm putting one right over there.
I know, I can see it. So that's why we're a little late. Apologies.
Right. So the internet, clearly key, right? Key for all, not just for real estate, but for all things in terms of marketing. You don't just advertise in the newspaper anymore. You clearly have a web presence too. When you think about how buyers search, it's all online right now. How do they get information? All of it's online, and they're used to getting lots and lots of information. When you think about buying a car, $30,000, $40,000. There is a huge amount of information available about that car. Make, the models, the colors, the options, you name it, it's all available online. And today's buyers, no matter what age they are used to that, and they expect, and in many cases demand, that from real estate marketing, for example. They want all the information that they can get their hands on. They're also very educated about the market. Today's buyers are on Zillow or Redfin or Realtor or 101 different real estate portals with lots and lots of information about the market. They're also, in many cases, and we're getting back to this, out every weekend looking at homes. So they really do know about the real estate market. Primarily, and the one to remember here is, they know what homes are worth.
Yes.
Because they've seen a 2-bedroom Cape down the road that sold for $750, and so why is yours on the market for $850? And that's kind of something to think about too. Today's buyers are very educated, in many cases, more educated about the real estate market than today's sellers, because sellers have not been out looking for homes week after week, not looking at what their competitors may be putting on the market in the right price point. They're just not doing that. Maybe they should. And this is one of the reasons why we're doing these sellers masterclasses, is really to kind of level that playing field. Let's understand what today's buyers want so that we can tailor the product to meet exactly their requirements. And guess what? When you do that, house prices rise. You unlock the hidden potential of your home.
And this is key, the next slide coming up, when you talk about the buyers, and they're all out there week after week after week making offers on homes, because we've got a really strong market at the moment. But you have a look at this one. That's it. The fall of 2020 was huge. So this home came on the market for $869, and it went under agreement the same day for $869. So do you think all the buyers got to see that one? I can guarantee they didn't. I can guarantee it was one person came in, made an offer for the asking price, and bang, it's done. And they could have gotten so much more money.
Right. And this is not a one-off.
No.
In fact, about 25 homes away from us,
exactly
the same situation arose.
Just happened just a week ago.
Literally a week ago. And so, in this environment, it's key, given the number of buyers that are out there today, get the home in front of those buyers. It's huge. And the more buyers more eyeballs you can get on the home, the higher, guess what, the final price you're going to get. It's just kind of a one-to-one. More eyeballs, higher the price. It's as simple as that.
And one of the houses that we reviewed offers on today, we got an offer in on Thursday. The home came on the market on Thursday. We got an offer in first thing Friday morning for the asking price.
Good luck with that one. Let me know how that one worked out for you.
With no contingencies, and we've sold it for $180,000 more than that initial offer. And so this is where you've got to actually understand what's going on with today's buyers, and got to understand the value of getting as many buyers in to see the home and making that home appeal to all of the buyers that are out there. And that's what today's, what we're doing, unlocking the hidden potential in your home, because those buyers are there and they're ready to pay way over the asking price if the home presents well to them. So what do we mean by that? Okay, preparation. Today's buyers want move-in ready. They absolutely want move-in ready. Now, we've been talking about how huge the market is at the moment. And if you want to know more statistically what's happening, go to our blog page, because we do regular updates that describe what's going on with the market. But something it's quite interesting, I've heard this from a number of sellers whenever I go to talk to them. I can basically ask what I want because the buyers are there and they will pay the money. No, that's not the case. Here's some data showing you that this is not the case. This is 2020 data. Market's huge, but if you look at the large bar here, that's at 100% sale price to list price ratio. So you bring it on the market for $1 million, it sells for $1 million. Sale price to list price ratio of 100. Well then, why, if the market's so strong, did 49% of the homes that came on the market last year in this particular town sell for below the asking price? Why? And why did 51% of the homes that came on the market in that marketplace sell for above the asking price? This is part of unlocking the potential, the hidden potential in your home. So that's why we're doing this. And it's pretty easy to see too. This is data that's been compiled, I think, from about 5 years, 4 years, 5 years, something like this.
A number of different towns too.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get me a sizable statistically significant set of data.
Right, and when you look at this, you've got the days on the market on the x-axis and the sale price to list price ratio on the y. Now, if you look at this, the first few days of a home being on the market is when you'll get the majority of homes, the majority of times that the home will sell for over the asking price. The longer you're on the market, this is the trend line, it goes down, because that's it. As the longer you're on the market, the buyers don't think, oh boy, what do I need to do to buy this home? They've gone past that. They're now, how much less can I offer to have the seller take my offer? Because if the home's been on the market for 2 months, 3 months, it's now stale. The buyers, even if a buyer walks in the door and they like the home and they're looking around, they think, well, I really like this home, but nobody else has bought it. What am I missing that everybody else is seeing? That's the impact of being on the market for a period of time. And to prepare, so I just wanted to give that information just sort of up front so that it puts a lot of the rest of this in perspective. There are several options available with preparing your home. So you can do nothing. Buyers and developers compete for homes. As I mentioned, today we had 2 offers from developers on the home. They missed out. But they still compete for homes. There was one around the corner last year where I think 13 builders competed for the home. So they still do come on. Or you can do minor cleanup and cosmetic improvements. Again, buyers want move-in ready, and sometimes the best, highest return on investment activity you can do is paint. Cleaning up things, packing away, and then painting. That's important. We see this all the time. Or you can do updates. Now, it really does depend on what your time frame is for wanting to move. Now, if you were thinking of moving or selling within the next 12 months, I wouldn't do major updates, replacing the kitchen and the bathrooms. It just doesn't make sense to do that. But if you're planning on being in the home for 2 years or more, absolutely. Why not put the kitchen in now and you get to enjoy it for the period of time that you're in there? So, and the updates that we're talking about, it is a graduated scale. Each house is different. I may as well get to the next one. There's no one answer fits all. But it is also important to mention that you've got to get advice on the things that you're proposing doing, because there are a lot of things that don't give you a good return on investment. But again, as I mentioned, don't do major renovations unless you're going to be in the home for more than 2 years. And the higher return on investment activities, a lot of them are very low cost. They're not high dollar activities. So we'll come in and give you advice on the highest return on investment tasks, and we'll give you advice on the order of what to do those tasks in. And we see this week after week after week when we go into a home. Here you go. I was starting to work with some sellers back in September of last year. We bought their home on the market about 3 or 4 weeks ago. They'd done some preparation, done quite a bit of preparation, getting their home ready. And we went in and staged it, we marketed it. We had 35 offers on the home. So it's important to do those things, because the small money that you send now will net you some very high returns later. And we'll give you advice on projects not worth doing, because there are some activities that really, you can do them, the buyers would love that, but they're not going to pay extra for the home if those things have been done. So what about preparation? We're going to show you some examples of some in a minute, but the preparation can range anywhere from us helping and providing contractor resources, or we have a listing manager in our team. She's also known as the contractor whisperer, and she often goes in with contractors and meets them and gets quotes for work to be done, and then you choose which one makes sense. Or she can help coordinate the contractors, and she can oversee the project in conjunction with the seller. So the level of assistance depends totally on what you want to happen. So you can organize and oversee with our assistants, or we had one seller coin this phrase a year or so ago. They wanted to be an interested observer, where we organized it and we oversaw it and we just managed the thing.
Watched from afar.
We did. And I'll get you to do that. I need to disappear for a second.
All right, so enough of the words. How about some before and after? What does this actually mean? So here's a great example of a home. It looks to be, in somewhat poor shape. Wallpaper on the walls, a lot of clutter in the house. Now, so imagine we took the wallpaper down and we just refinished the floors and we removed some of the clutter. That's what it would look like.
Yeah.
Now, think of it from a buyer's perspective. If they saw, the top photograph, I don't have any money because I'm at the limit of what I can afford here. Now I've got to do all of that work. The bottom picture there, much easier. They can walk in, maybe
they can just bring in their dining room table, bring in some cushions. Yeah.
And maybe they don't like the wall, the color, the paint, but that's something they can do over time. They don't need to do it today.
We always help choose the right paints.
I'm sure you do.
Yeah. This one's the Ashwood, Benjamin Moore Ashwood colour, just in case you were curious. But here's another example. This is a home that we bought on the market just
last year. Yeah, middle of last year.
Had been knocked around by tenants quite a bit. We came in and fresh paint and also put down some sheet vinyl because the carpets really weren't anywhere to be done. But a buyer walking into this lower photo went, well, wait until you see it, because we did stage it as well. But the impression that the buyer gets with fresh paint is huge. Here's one where this photo is of the kitchen where we went in. You can see Marcus at the door there.
I was in a suit. I don't wear a suit very often. The rare occasions where I've been photographed in a suit.
It's typically me just going out now, and you stay back and do the behind the scenes stuff. But anyway, we went in, and this home, we didn't want to do too much to it from a renovation perspective, but smartening up. And you can see with this bottom photo, we painted the kitchen cabinets. We did put some granite countertops on because there was laminate and butcher block, and it didn't look fantastic. We also put some stainless steel appliances in, some new light fixtures. We got a huge result with that home, a huge result. And that was also a home where a builder was interested in it. And we ended up selling it for something like $350,000 more than the builders were offering, just with minimal cost items. Here's another one. This is, a lot of people sort of don't understand that painting kitchen cabinets, or bathroom cabinets for that matter, will get a huge return. Because this is a kitchen, it looks pretty nice, wood cabinetry, things like that. This was a photo. The home had been on the market for 103 days, not selling, with another agent. They contacted me, and I came in and sort of said, okay, we need to paint the kitchen cabinets and paint one bathroom cabinet. That was pretty well all we did. They did switch out a couple of the appliances because apparently they were a little faulty, but with just some basic things like this, we had competing offers on the home. Now remember, it didn't sell for over 3 months with the unpainted cabinetry. And once we painted the cabinetry, because the painted cabinetry makes the kitchen feel newer from the perspective for a buyer, because most of the builders are putting in white cabinets in new construction. So when a buyer comes in and they see white cabinets, they think, oh, this is new. And in fact, the kitchen wasn't new, but I've had that comment a few times with homes where a buyer's agent or a buyer will come in and sort of say, oh, a new kitchen. And I'll sort of say, oh, you paint. So anyway, here's another one. This was a home that was also a builder. I think Marcus gave this example just before. No, he didn't. No, this is a different one. Here, these folks were getting ready to come on the market with a different agent. Well, they were talking to a different agent. They were planning on coming in about a week's time. And I came in and sort of said, no, you can't come on with the kitchen like this, because there were some other negatives associated with the home as well. We needed to make the home as appealing as possible. So by just painting the kitchen cabinets, that's all. You can see everything else is the same. You've got the same fridge, the same range, the same dishwasher, just painted cabinets. That was it. Competing offers on the home. Here's another home that we did some work to. Again, you've got the white appliances, you've got a yellow laminate counter, you've got your older wood cabinets, some paint. We actually did the floor in this one too, because the floor in the old was ripped in some places. But this just made the kitchen feel fresh and newer. It's not new. You can obviously tell it's not a new kitchen, but what happens is the buyers walk in the door and they think to themselves, I could live in this house. I can live in this house, and then I'll do some work moving forward. I can move in like this. I'd be okay to have guests come over, things like this. Mm-hmm. I can move into this home. And that's what happens. And that's why the buyers pay more for it. Here's something that a lot of folks don't realize either. This is, you see these older ceramic tiles in a lot of homes. Sometimes you'll find them orange or dark blue or purple or yellow. That they paint up beautifully. Benjamin Moore have a product, it's a bonding primer they sell. And you just prepare the tiles and paint them, and here you go. Here's the tiles painted. So the wallpaper taken off. Nothing else happened to any of the fixtures in there. Competing offers on the home, because that's a bathroom that you can, when walking in there, you think, I can live with this. Yeah, it's older. but I can live here easily because it feels fresh and clean and painted. Here's another example. A lot of folks don't realize that you can actually paint laminate. And again, we've got the tiles paint. That's the same bathroom, same vanity with paint on it, same tiles, just with paint on them. Because when you see this vanity here with the white paint on it, sure, it looks older, but it doesn't look dated. When you look at the before, that looks dated. That's what's sort of setting the tone for how much the buyers would pay. Here's another one. This bathroom, you can sort of see the laminate strip was a little rough. You've got the painted, you've got the tiles with some paint. We painted the laminate counter, we painted the cabinets, and we painted the tile. Again, this is a fresh bathroom that buyers would be okay buying. You can sort of see because you've still got the orange sinks. No, beige sinks. And it was still dated, but it was fresh. It was fresh dated. Fresh dated, freshly, is that a word?
No,
it's not, is it? No, fresh dated. No, that's sort of mutually
not
exclusive.
Outdated.
Yes, but it's not just some circumstances. Some older cabinets that could use some paint. This was a home that had been on the market with another agent for about 4 or 5 months, and it didn't sell. We went in and the kitchen had cherry cabinetry. Now you can see this bathroom also had cherry cabinetry. Again, everything in the home was beautiful, but unfortunately, because I love wood. I've got a wood kitchen upstairs. But the buyers, the painted white kitchens and bathrooms is what appeals to today's buyers. So anyway, the seller, when I talked to them about, the project, things that we could do, the seller was, I'm not really sure about this painting cherry cabinets. Oh, I don't think I want to do that. And then they decided after 24 hours, yeah, let's do it. We got a painter in. They were so tickled pink with how the kitchen looked. When I was talking to the seller a couple of days later, she said, by the way, I got the master bathroom done too, because I thought it turned out so well with the kitchen, I wanted to do the bathroom. Again, it's the same bathroom, just with some paint on the wood cabinetry. And it feels newer. It feels like this is something that a builder might have installed in the last year or two. But it's not just the inside that's important. You've got to remember the outside. So here's a home that had been a for sale by owner, then had been on the market for over a year with another agent, and then it was a for sale by owner again. It doesn't sort of look really appealing. And what happened is they called me in. I think one of their friends had used us in that prior year or so and came in and suggested some things to do. There wasn't too much to do inside apart from staging, because the home, when it had been on the market all of those 2 years, had not had a stick of furniture in it. No, actually it had a coffee table. I'll show you.
Show us that one.
I'll show you that one,
yeah.
But went in and we planned to stage, do all of that. But look at the trim on the outside and look at the colour of the garage doors. And it was sort of like a plum purple colour trim. Here's the same house with just some fresh paint on the trim. Painted the garage doors, painted the trim around, painted the window trims, and got rid of the 2 ugly trees that hadn't had much love for a while. And we had competing offers and sold it for over the asking price. So it's outside as well. You've just got to make the home present well to the buyers, where they drive up, oh, wow, okay. or they walk in the door and it's, oh, wow, okay. Positive visceral feel, that's what you want. Here's another one. This is landscaping is important. So this home, I bet you can't even tell that there's a side entry here, because all of these bushes and trees at the front of the home were so overgrown. Not only did it make the house look quite ugly, I shouldn't say ugly, unappealing, it also was really, really dark inside the house because all of these trees were blocking the sun. Here's what it looked like once we took some of the trees out and put some fresh paint around. Look, see, there's the side entry. It did exist. But the other thing with that is when we took out some of these big trees and we planted some smaller juvenile type trees, this is a trigger point for buyers in that, newer construction has juvenile plantings and things like this. So this felt newer construction because it just had some new plants outside. Makes a huge difference. So, Marcus.
So that was the exciting stuff. What you should spend your money on. Now we're going to talk about what you shouldn't spend your money on. Basically, what buyers won't pay more for. So, number one, of course, they won't pay for a new roof. They would love a new roof, of course, absolutely. And it does have to be functional. But in general, they will not pay extra for a new roof. Same is true, of course, of a new heating system. Again, they would love a new heating system, but then just not going to pay extra for it. And that's the key. You can do this work, but the buyers are not going to pay extra for it. But if you do, and you decide you're going to stay in the house for 5 years, or perhaps you're worried about, winter's coming, and guess what? The boiler was, not 100% last year. That's a great time to do it. So you get the benefit from it. If you're going to be there a long time, or you feel it's about to break, then sure, go ahead and do it. But don't do it just because you think the buyers will pay more. In general, they will not. If you do actually put a new heating system in, what we would recommend is that you use natural gas if you possibly can. Anyway, so upgraded electricals and plumbing and things like that, again, they're not going to pay extra for that. They just really aren't. There's a little bit of a caveat around knob and tube wiring. That's an old style wiring from up till about 1930. If that's in the house, it makes sense to think about, and here's the key, replacing it. First step in that replacement, of course, is to get a quote for it. And that may be all you need to do, because today's buyers really do want to see how much it's going to cost to do something, because they don't really understand what that cost can be. So perhaps it's only it's a couple of knob and tube circuits, it's a few $1,000s. A buyer will look at that and go, gosh, it must be really, really expensive. Having that quote available to them puts their mind at ease to say, okay, yes, there's some knob and tube, could be other things too, but here this says knob and tube, but this is the cost to replace it. We did something similar many years ago where there was a swimming pool in the backyard, and it wasn't just in the backyard, it basically was the backyard. We got some feedback from buyers that, pools are 50-50 anyway. One that contains the whole yard, really don't want it. So what we did is got a quote for the removal of that swimming pool. To say, yes, I know you don't like the pool, but look, it only costs X to remove it. So that's a kind of top tip as well. If you've got something that you feel will be a real turn off for a buyer, get a quote for it. If it's a few $100s, get it done. But if it's more than that, the presence of that quote will put many buyers' mind at ease, because guess what? They know what it says, or how much it is. I just looked, and that's not your name under there.
Oh, I'm not Yuki Wang. Is that Yuki Wang?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that. Tonight's been a bit.
I'm Danny.
Tonight's been like, oh my goodness. All right, what else have we got? Custom upgrades. Just talked about swimming pools, jacuzzis, hot tubs, and things like that. Buyers again will not pay extra for those. That's key. So They just won't.
I just need to call out
Okay.
Simon. We sold his home 2 years ago, I think.
Okay.
And he's just saying to people that for other people online, MA Properties did a tremendous job with selling our Lexington home. There's no one else who I would want to represent me, either as a buyer or a seller. Thank you, Simon. And I hope Ainsley's going well and the kids are going well. I watch you on Facebook, so anyway, keep going.
All right, last piece in what not to do: windows and storm windows. Buyers again would love to have those, but they're not going to pay extra for it. So focus on what Danny talked about. Don't focus on.
There's more coming.
Oh, there's more.
Yeah.
At what point does this slide stop, Danny? I hate slides that reveal.
I just need to say I was up at 3 a.m. yesterday.
Okay.
Building this because I knew we were on tonight, needed to be built. So Marcus hasn't really seen it, but that's okay.
Right. Same is true of water remediation. It does have to be a dry basement, so that's something you should think about, because you don't people inevitably at open houses, first question they ask is there water in the basement? So that's one where perhaps talking to us about, does it make sense to do something, given that buyers are going to ask that question. Again, that may be something where you can put in that quote, this is what it would cost to mediate it. Same is true, of course, of insulation and things like that. So, the last one I want to talk about is solar panels. Because there's kind of some interesting some thoughts around that. Let me bring the whole slide up. So the solar panels, they come in two varieties. They come in lease and buy. Some of the challenges that we've seen, specifically with the lease systems, is that you are asking a potential buyer to assume the lease, because the lease goes with you, the homeowner, not the house. Now that's not true if you bought the system. It's bolted to the roof, and therefore it conveys with the house. It closes with the house. When it's leased, you, the homeowner, have that lease. It is not associated with the house. And therefore, when you sell the house, you have to ask the home buyer, the new homeowner, to assume that lease. And that lease can often be upwards of 20 years. And we've had many situations, way more than you would imagine, where home buyers have put a solar system in, leased it, and then literally in some cases, a few months later, put that home on the market. That doesn't make sense, because you're asking a potential buyer to assume what would be a 19.5-year lease. So if you're thinking about solar panels, yes, it may make sense for you to do it, but only if you're going to be there longer than a few months, for that matter. But again, like everything else, so long as you're there for an extended period, then it does make sense to put it in. But if you're only going to be there for a couple of years, then think twice about leasing specifically a solar system.
Well, we bought a home on the market earlier this year in Westboro, and it was one of our prior sellers and buyers. And she had signed up to have the solar installed in June of 2020, and I think forgot that she'd signed up for it. And we were bringing her home on the market. The solar panels got installed the week prior to coming on the market. So not only did the buyers have to assume a brand new 20-year long lease, but we didn't have any history to show the buyers it's going to save you money by using these solar panels. So that is a challenge when you look at it from that perspective. So, but, and it depends on...
I fixed your name, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
My pleasure.
It depends on what sort of market we're in too. The market that we're in at the moment, which is a very buoyant seller's market, the buyers are pretty well going to assume the lease. One of the homes that we had competing offers on today had 2 solar panel leases that were installed at different periods of time. And the buyers are assuming the leases. So in a seller's market, we typically don't have too many problems in getting the buyers to assume the lease. A buyer's market's going to be different, because a buyer's market, the buyers are in control. So if they don't really want to assume a longer term lease on a home when they don't have to, we may have problems assuming.
And especially what buyers want to see is they want to see 1-2 years worth of utility bills to see that it used to cost this to heat my home, now it costs dramatically less because the solar system has been in. If you haven't had that solar system in for 1, 2, 3 years, you're not going to have that history to show what the utility bills are going to be moving forward. So that's why I say the situation where you're putting a solar system in, essentially for the buyers, that doesn't make sense. Let the buyers, let the new homeowner put the solar system in. Don't go through that yourself. It's just one more impact, potentially one more impediment to getting top dollar for your home.
Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about this. Sorry, I have to keep disappearing from the from the live stream, but that's okay. You don't want me blowing my nose in front of you. Too much information. So what is important is what to consider as to what you want to do from a preparation perspective. Remember, we were talking about high return on investment activities. So if a home needs some work, it's far better for you to do this minor work and absorb and take the equity, rather than leaving it for the new buyer or the new owner of the home to take the equity. So, any home that could be improved by a $10,000 spend and getting a $60,000 increase in sale price, that's $50,000 that could be in your pocket rather than the new owner's pocket. So, if you're going to spend money doing this, though, spend it on something that gets a good return on investment. Things like someone had watched our Sellers Masterclass years ago, and we talk about paint, how paint is a great return on investment. Well, get us in to advise you on some of this stuff, because this particular seller painted the home bright orange and bright green and bright blue inside. Need to be really, really subtle colors, and that's the most fun I have, is doing color consulting. So get us in to help you and give you advice on what to spend money on and how to spend it wisely. So the next thing is staging. This is, again, the hidden potential in your home. We all live in homes. Gee, that was really profound, wasn't it? Yes,
totally
yes.
Profound, then, yes.
Even with a head cold,
You managed to.
I came out with a
philosophical
profound
comment. There we go.
statement.
Some of them look like the next picture.
Some of what looks like the what?
Hopefully not.
So anyway, it's part of the impact of getting the highest price is to have the buyers walk in the door and, oh, wow, I want this house. And that's when we get competing offers for a home. And that's really, really important. So let's show you some examples of staging. Here's a home that needed preparation. This had been had tenants in the home. We came in and painted the home. Okay, that's Ashwood, by the way. Painted it, but look at the difference with furniture in the same room. A buyer would walk into this empty room and sort of think, yeah, okay. But walking into this room that's been staged, they walk in and think, I could live here. I could live here. I could make my house look this beautiful. That's what you want them to be thinking. Here's another example. Same room from a different view. Here it is painted. Here it is staged. Big difference. Here's a dining room. Paint still looks okay, but now it's defined what this room is, because often when a buyer walks into a vacant home, they have no idea how the room could be utilized. In some circumstances, when you see MLS remarks saying unique layout or versatile floor plan, all of those are triggers that it's not obvious. Marcus, I'm going to disappear for just a moment.
All right, so dining rooms, bedrooms. This is similar to the house that we showed previously, but you can see the space there, you know, it needs that preparation stage. Okay, so let's do the preparation. Look what it looks like now. Now you can see those ashwood, no doubt, changing out the carpet, which look pretty rough for that luxury vinyl tile. But then here's the icing on the cake. Bang, there's what staging does for you. Now, all of a sudden, a potential buyer can look at that room and say, you know what, I can see my furniture in here. What I've got will actually fit. So that's the key. You're kind of putting it in context. Yes, I can see my furniture in here. It may not look like this. It's the same size and so on. So that's the kind of key for staging.
Yeah, and it creates an emotional response from the buyer, which gets you the highest price. I mean, when a buyer walks in, I have to have this home. I have to have it. This is how I want to live. They're going to pay more money for the home. So it's so important. Now, other agents charge for the service, for staging, or the seller needs to pay the staging company directly. We include it as part of our services for our sellers. That's that to us because it knows that we're going to get the highest price for the seller and it's going to sell quickly, which, as you saw, the graph previously where sale price to list price ratio versus days on the market, in the first week of the home coming on, that's when we get the highest price. So we've got to get those buyers when they're coming in the door. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just...
So, I mean, if I look at staging, there's kind of some interesting statistics that people come up with. 83% of buyers agents said a staged home helped buyers visualize the property. Back to what I said before with that, putting that bed in that bedroom, all of a sudden they can imagine themselves living in that home. 25% said potential buyers increased their offer between 1 and 5%. Think about that, 1 and 5%. The average price in Arlington approaching $1 million. The average price in Lexington, 1.4, 1.5. You know, 1%. Guess what? You know, 5% is $50,000 of $1 million home. $75,000 if you're thinking in terms of a home here in Lexington. So that's a huge amount of money. And guess what? They also sold quicker too. You know, that's the kind of key. So they sold quickly. They sold for more money, and lo and behold, you know, buyers can kind of visualize where they are. So that's key about staging. Let me give you a couple more examples here. So here's an example of a home. Difficult to understand what a potential buyer might do with that space. This was on the market for some 200 days with a prior agent in this current state without that staging furniture in there. But look what happens when all of a sudden you put that staging furniture in there. In the end, this home sold for competing offers. Over $2.2 million sold for competing offers. But you can see that prior to that, the buyers were struggling with how they would use that space. You've got to, give them some clues about how they might use it. And this next one's even a better example of that. So here's a living room area. How would I use it? Okay, well, let's put some furniture in there. And lo and behold, now you can see that space, how it would be used.
Yeah, it makes a difference. And here's another one. This room was in a sort of a contemporary style home, but it wasn't obviously a dining room. Well, we needed to have the buyers understand that it could be used as a dining room. This is perfect for it. So by putting dining room furniture in and some tchotchkes and a bureau, that's what defines how the room can be used. And as the buyers are walking through, it's not, what do I do with this room? It's a dining room. Oh, look, here's the dining room. It's key. And here's another one. This is a lovely living room, absolutely lovely living room, but it doesn't really feel warm and inviting. Whereas with furniture in it, this is like in a magazine. It raises the game for the home and how much someone would get for it. Here's another example of, a freshly painted room, But look at that freshly painted room with furniture in it. Huge difference. And that's what's important. Here's new construction. This is still being prepped. Now, this home still would have looked good, even finished and not staged, but look at the difference with staging that makes. This home, we sold it very, very quickly, and part of it was the staging furniture, as well as the builder's quality, obviously, but it just makes the buyers, when they walk in, look at this. It's huge. This was the for sale by owner that we were talking about before, where we did some work on the outside. So this is one of the listing photos when it was bought on the first time. That's the staging for the family room. There's a coffee table underneath the fan. Anyway, here it is with staging furniture in there. Again, feels warm and enticing. This is this same home. Now, the front door is over there, and this front room was obviously the living room. This middle room was the dining room. You can see the chandelier, but the buyers would have walked through and sort of thought, what's this room? What would I use this room for? Well, with some furniture, we staged it as a living room in front. We staged it with the dining room in the middle, and this is the pre and post dinner drinks room. Buyers, oh, is that what I'd use this for? Imagining how they would live in the home.
Another example.
Sorry.
See, who said men can't multitask? Not my section, but here's another example of a home. This is a family room. You can see it there. It's a little bit disorganized. Potential buyer would look at that and not really understand how to use the space. Now all of a sudden, look, we've staged it. There was some painting that happened there, but even in the prior photograph, you can see it was a rather neutral color. But now the room is defined. You can see exactly how a potential buyer would live in that home. Another example. I like this example. I like the cap thing, by the way. I have no idea how that works, but I like the cap thing that was sat there. Too much furniture in that space. Needed to kind of be some furniture taken out. It just looked kind of small, tight and small. But look what happens now. Oh, did I go too far? There we go. Sorry.
Oh, there. No.
I went too far.
This home was on the market for 3 months with another agent, and
in the state with the cat
this
thing.
one here, and it just doesn't feel appealing at all. We came into this home and just painted one wall and bought in staging furniture, and we used their furniture because you can see the chair that's here is the chair that's in the corner. There's a lamp tucked there. There's now the lamp. Here's this ladder-like wall structure. We put some tchotchkes on it, but this feels warm. And we had competing offers. I think we had 18 offers on that one, fairly soon after coming back on the market. Yeah. So anyway, the next thing is with this. Yeah, no, I'm just going to talk for a minute.
Okay.
We can do this together.
It's my section. We can do it together.
No.
We can run off any minute.
So part of this is where I want to go with that, though, is more that, sure, you can prep the home, you can stage the home, we can help you make smart decisions on when to come on the market, but all of that doesn't mean anything if we don't market the home. Because in this market, exposure is absolutely critical, because in a seller's market, anything will sell. You know, they say this, anything will sell if it's priced right, things like this, things sell. But how much they sell for is key with the marketing component. As I mentioned, you know, the competing offers on the homes today, you got to market the home and get it out there so that buyers who are out there can see that this home is on the market. I need to go and see it. Oh my goodness, this looks fantastic. So how do we know whether the buyers are responding to it?
Well, first thing I would say is that digital media is key to selling in this market, be it real estate or cars or anything for that matter. Digital media is kind of key. What we look at though is how many views we get of the digital assets, that digital media, be it 3D tours, the videos, and things like that. And we've looked at this a lot. We've been rolling out the whole array of different digital assets, for the last 3, 4, 5 years now. And what we found is though, if you get 40 plus viewings of the 3D tour in the first 2 days, usually results in something like 20 plus private showings. Now,
in the 4 days that the home's on the market.
Right.
Yeah.
And then 20 plus private showings equates to, guess what, 2 plus offers on the home. So there's a direct correlation between the number of views and the number of offers. That's key. No surprise really with that, as you would expect, but we can see that correlation play out. And we roll out a listing dashboard, 18 months ago now, but 12, 18 months ago. What this does, 2 things. First of all, it keeps a potential seller up to date with what's happening with their listing. But what's really important when you get into the on-market phase with this, it allows you to real time see how many people are viewing the 3D tour and the video and the brochure and so on. So you can begin to kind of see, yes, here's the activity. And what's interesting about this is, as we've looked at these over the last 18 months or so, when we bring a home on the market on a Thursday, there's a peak, a spike, if you will, in terms of the number of views of videos, 3D tours, and so on. So Thursday, Friday, there's lots of viewings of the digital media. Slows down, drops down on Saturday and Sunday, and then picks up again on the Monday. So what's happening here is that as the home comes on the market, specifically here when we're thinking about the time we're in with COVID, buyers are looking at everything online. Now they're beginning to make a key decision, and that key decision is, am I going to view the home? Am I actually going to physically go to the home? They're doing all of that online. The buyers agents in our team are working with buyers on Zoom before the weekend to determine which of the homes they're going to go and view, because they've got a limited window in which they can do that. And they're doing all of that from the digital media. Yeah. Monday comes along and buyers are now in the situation of, right, I've got to decide between 2 homes. Am I going to write an offer on this one? They go back to that 3D tour and the video just to reacquaint themselves with their home, answer those nagging questions like how big was the closet on the 2nd floor and so on. And that's why we get that peak on the Monday. So lots going on Thursday, Friday. This is why you have to come on with everything in place.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We often see listings, photos coming soon.
And they come on Sunday.
Doesn't make sense. Because
we lost that weekend.
Thursday and Friday is when buyers are making a decision whether they're going to view that home or not. And if you haven't got the photos, then the decision is an easy one. We'll move past that and go to the homes that have got that. So it's key that when it's like a big bang on Thursday, everything's in place. Let's go live. You don't dribble it out over the next 3 or 4 days. It just doesn't make sense. Given the way that today's buyers are deciding to whether they're going to view homes, and realistically, if they're viewing homes, whether they are or are not going to write offers on those homes. So that's key.
Yep.
So you need everything.
You should demand everything.
There you go.
From agents.
Yep.
You should demand these components, because this is key to also getting the highest price.
Absolutely.
Not just preparation and staging.
And it's about photography, it's about video, it's about 3D tour, it's about floor plans, wrapping all that up, having a single one-stop shop for all the information in a website, and so on, virtual open houses, and so it goes on. But you've really got to have all of that, because that's what today's consumer, and guess what, today's buyer is also a consumer, that's what they demand, that's what they're used to, and they really don't understand why they're not getting that for real estate, given that they're getting it for assets, which are valued at a fraction of the price.
And the virtual open houses, I mean, we've started doing those, well, when I say we've started doing those, we've been doing those since May of last year, since real estate started
Just after
back
COVID.
again
Just
after the lockdown ended in, well, it didn't end when it started. I'm not making sense with that. But when we started bringing homes on the market again in May of 2020, we started doing virtual open houses, and they're so important because a lot of buyers are, as Marcus said, making a decision as to which house to go and see. And with the virtual open house, look, go and have a look at 11nickerson.com. That was one that we did that virtual open house on Thursday. And actually any of the homes that we're bringing on the market have these virtual open houses as part of the website, because that's where the buyers are going to go. I'm not making sense.
Shall I carry on then?
Yes.
Okay. So photography. It really doesn't matter whether it's an old home or a new home. Here's just an example of a somewhat contemporary home and then a very old home. Professional photography sells homes. It's key. These are our photographs. Take a look at these two. These are not our photographs. These are actually the same kitchen. Now you can see in the left-hand photograph, it's actually been staged. It's been smartened up. A lot of that work has been put in, but the photography just lets it down. It makes it look small. It's wonky. It's really, really not great. Contrast that with the photograph on the right, which is the same kitchen. It looks appealing. And remember, Thursday and Friday, buyers are making a decision whether they are or are not going to go see that home. And if they have, a limited window, it's likely they're going to skip the house on the left and go instead to the house on the right. And we see poor photography all the time. Here's a kitchen. You may not be able to see this on the live stream, but that kitchen is out of focus.
Completely.
I don't understand why you would put a photograph online that's out of focus. The reality is somebody went in with one of these and was a little bit wonky, and that's the photograph you've ended up with. And you can contrast that with ours on the right-hand side there, which really showcases that space. I mean, that's key. Here's another example, not staged either, as you can see, but again, very poor quality photographs. This one, I like the box of handkerchiefs. You could use that box.
Oh, I could.
You could definitely use that box
I've got my own box
There we
here.
go. There we go. This one is just completely out of focus, as is this one.
Look at that one.
You can see that one there, I think.
Look at that one.
And
these are photos from one of the top agents in the area.
Enough said. Let's move on.
Why don't people do research and homework on the agent that they're going to use?
I don't know.
Because this is what the buyers are seeing to decide whether they're going to come and see your home.
Right. And this is an asset which could be valued at $1 million. I think there for me is the disconnect. There's a disconnect between the value of the product and the quality of the marketing. It just isn't there in my perspective. So, video. I mean, the way people consume content today is clearly through video. We do a number of different videos. Danny talked before about the virtual open house. You can see that there. We do, 5 reasons you love this home. We do the standard video showing you the home. We also have a kind of lifestyle video we've done in a number of homes, usually in very large homes, just so that you can get the buyers, into that home. Give them the perspective of what it would be like to live in that home. That's key. So lots of different videos for these homes, catering to different audiences in many cases too. So that's there. Key for us, from my perspective, is the 3D tour. What this does is it really allows you to be in the home, and it's an immersive experience. Because when you think about today, and not just today, previously too, there's a relatively short window where you can view the home. Perhaps there's just a 15-minute or a 30-minute window on a Saturday. Maybe you go back on a Monday, you get another 30 minutes. But realistically, that's measured in way less than an hour in that actual home. What the 3D tour allows you to do is, say, in this very immersive environment, is to spend as long as you want in that home whenever you want. Show it to your, perhaps you've got some family who are part of that decision about whether you're going to buy this home. It's a way for everybody to kind of be virtually in that home. And the 3D tour is key for that. So that's the 3D tour. And then, having kind of got everything, you've got the photographs, the narrative that goes along with it, you've got the 3D tour, you've got the videos, you've got the virtual open house and so on. Now it all needs to be wrapped into a single website, and that's what you showcase. In this case, it was 27merriam.com. You talked about 11 Nickerson, that was 11nickerson.com and so on. So nice simple web address. All that information actually on that website. Everything you can find. Floor plans. We talk about floor plans.
Well, we should also mention that all of this information is so important because 27merriam.com ended up being bought. We had 5 offers on the home, and it ended up being bought by a family who were living overseas. They hadn't even seen the home physically when they made an offer on the home, but they had enough information with the 3D tour and the videos and the floor plans and everything like this to feel confident of buying a large home sight unseen.
Yep, just because of that wide array of digital media there was as well. So it's key. It really is key. Floor plans are on there too. So having built the website and everything goes along with it, 3D tour, how do you get it out there in front of potential buyers? 2 strategies on that one. The first one is broad, the social media strategy, if you like, where you push it wide. Now, why wide? I don't mean wide as far as the US. It's kind of some interesting information that I got just a couple of weeks ago, that 80% of the buyers who are buying in Massachusetts live in Massachusetts. So Danny mentioned your people moving around the country. Yes, but in terms of Massachusetts, that's probably only 20% of the buyers. 10% of them would have been moving into the area pre-COVID with relocations and so on, just because of the buoyant economy here. But 80% of the buyers buying in Massachusetts actually live in Massachusetts.
But they might be in the Berkshires, they might be down in Quincy, so they're moving around, and having these digital components is so important. And that's why social media, getting those ad campaigns out there, because it's fair to say, for those of you on Facebook, you don't go on Facebook to search for a home. But I bet the buyers who are looking to buy a home, they're on Facebook. So when an ad pops up, ooh. So that's so important.
Right. So broad, not extremely broad, because we don't need to. As I say, 80% of buyers buying in Massachusetts actually live in Massachusetts. But go broad enough that you can get it out in front of potential buyers. Then having gone broad, then we go focused. We then target. And specifically, we do targeting via email. Buyers who have interacted with us on our website, have come to an open house. All of that, however we've met those potential buyers, we need to target them to say, hey, you were interested in 123 Main Street, which was a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom Cape. We're bringing another one on the market this weekend. Here's all the details of it. Maybe you're interested in that. So we've gone broad with social media, but then very narrow with that targeted email campaign as well. So, but in order for this to work, and if I don't like to go back, but if I could just go back one slide, you can see there with those adverts that we're putting out there, you really do need high quality photographs in order to catch people's attention on social media. If they had been low quality photographs, then they would have just gone past on their newsfeed. They would have missed it completely. So you've got to have the high quality digital, in this case photography, available to you for social media advertising to work at all. And then when they click on that, you have to have that website behind it, because you want to capture, you want to give them the information that they've come there to look at. So that's key. So having high quality photographs, like I talked about previously, and that website with all of that information is key to making social media work, and actually it's key to making targeted email work too, because you really want to target them, but you need to show them exactly what it is you're you're selling.
And I have to apologize. I'm going to have to disappear and leave Marcus to handle the rest of it. I'm starting to sneeze again and all of this sort of stuff. So that was my good period in the last hour and a half. So Marcus will continue. I hope you'll be fine. I'm sorry.
All right. So last piece of this, in terms of the 5 pillars of this, really is excellence through teamwork. We think this is key. Having a team of people around us to make everything that we've talked about reality. Clearly the client is at the center of this. Makes sense. But the agent is there, the listing coordinator. Danny mentioned Susan, our listing coordinator previously, contractor whisperer, project manager, organizing all of that work that you may get done up front. You kind of need that. Having that help that you can call upon. What colors should I use? What should I do? What should I not do? That's there. Once you've got past that accepted offer, closing coordinating, going through all of those steps time and time again, that's key. Staging, preparation, marketing, having all of that together is really key to getting the highest price for your home, unlocking that potential. And we think this is unique in what we do. We own all of those processes. Everything you see there, we own. We don't outsource this. We own this, and that's key in our opinion, because we own, if nothing else, the scheduling and the quality, and that's key to making this whole thing work. Our core values. These are fundamental to what we do. Integrity and ethical behavior. That's kind of the cornerstone of everything we do. Education, not selling. I mean, here we are giving a presentation. We do them every month. We talk about different topics. I mean, it's really all about educating in this case, potential sellers. We do the same for buyers too. I have to say, we kind of turn it around and say, if a seller hasn't done all of the work that I've just talked about, look what you can do. So we take those before and afters, and they become before you buy it, after you've moved in. So, and then exceptional customer service. That's kind of the core values that we bring. Professional versus Aunt Mary. This is a key one. We talked a lot about the photography, just as an example of very, very poor quality photography. And that really isn't the professionalism that's required to get top dollar, to unlock that potential. You really need somebody who does this day in, day out, has that team around them. And you really don't want those so-called 3Ps agents, where they put a sign in, put it in MLS and pray. You really want somebody who follows through with all of that process to make this happen. And it's quite interesting. A few years ago now, the National Association of Realtors commissioned a study to see, what were the biggest threats to the real estate industry. And it was pretty brutal what they came out with in the end. The real estate industry, I'll kind of read it verbatim, because it made everybody, I think, whether they didn't think about it is a different question, made everybody take a step back and go, oh, hold on a minute. The real estate industry is saddled with a large number of part-time, untrained, unethical, and incompetent agents. Whoa. Okay, this knowledge gap threatens the credibility of the industry. And unfortunately, we see it day in, day out. But that's really key in terms of having everything we've talked about so far, kind of having the ability to execute all of that is absolutely key. Agents on our team. There you go. Here's Danny and I, as well as the agents on our team, long-term Lexington and Arlington residents in there as well. Actually, Wenjen's in Bedford, as is Yuki. So we really, have a wide array of agents, in the area. So what does selling in 2021 look like? And how is it different from, I won't necessarily compare it to 2020. That was a very strange year, specifically in terms of the logistics of doing it. But in terms of 2019, we're not seeing that many open houses. We think there are challenges as well, because you may well have seen on Facebook or stories in the newspaper and so on of people lined up outside open houses because they're being only allowed in for 15 minutes, 2 or 3 people, 2 groups perhaps in a house at any given time. And so there's long queues before potential buyers can get in to see that home. The challenge with that is this: how long would you be willing to wait in that line to go and see that home, given that there are 4 other homes you want to see this weekend too? Because the serious buyers out there, view the home virtually and then they make private showings. That's the key. And so we've trialed open houses. We are beginning to see does it make sense? But overall, our impression of open houses is that they're a bigger turnoff for potential buyers than they are positive. They're far more negative than they are positive. It's really through that private showings with no overlapping groups through the house. That's how today's buyers, one, get to see the home, but more importantly, of course, how they want to see the home. No physical feature sheets. This is changing over time. Certainly last year, beginning part of this year, buyers were somewhat reluctant to take them with them. And as I mentioned previously in the marketing section, all the marketing is virtual, with videos, 3D tours and so on, everything that I've kind of talked about. One thing that is perhaps a little different this year than perhaps we've mentioned in the past is completing that seller's disclosure, something of a recommendation now, because today's buyers, you don't want to have any impediment to today's buyers making an offer. And giving them that seller's disclosure, this is what I know about the home, gives them that degree of confidence that, okay, the sellers filled this in, there's not that much wrong with it. That gives them just that little bit of confidence, perhaps even having an inspection report available. It was quite interesting. Our son bought a house in California, just outside San Francisco. And before the home came on the market, the seller had done a full inspection, an earthquake inspection. I guess we don't need to do that there. There was basically a full inspection of that home, and it was all made available to the buyers. The buyer, having looked at that, says, I can see exactly what the problems with this house are or are not. And that made them much more inclined to write an offer, of course, without an inspection contingency, because they've already seen the inspection report. Therefore, why do I need an inspection contingency? So that's key. In terms of closing and doing everything virtually, all of that's very much been worked out. We can do all of that. What was worked out, middle of last year, and that's kind of carried forward through to this year as well. So that's key. So, steps to success, kind of interesting one. Plan to succeed. That's an adage that's been said many, many times. If you're successful and you're caught out because you were successful, you did something wrong. So you really need to plan to succeed, because in this market, it's likely that a home will sell, perhaps not for top dollar, as Danny showed you, back to that sale price to list price distribution graph, but it's likely it may well sell. So have that plan to succeed. In the case of selling a home, get us in to advise you, in some cases, many years ahead. There's lots of information. Before you're going to do something serious, I'm thinking of moving out in 2 years, should I do X? Ask us to give you that advice. Back to that education, not sales. We're more than willing to give you the advice you need in terms of what you should and shouldn't do. Plan that move too. Where are you going to go? When are you going to go? Do you need to sell your home to buy your next home? Timing a buy and a sell. There's a whole presentation on that whole topic. But understanding what your options are, understanding what the different strategy scenarios are up front to decide, for example, actually, I would prefer to sell my home before I buy, but I don't have to. And maybe that's the right strategy, because that will allow me to sell my home when I can get top dollar for it, potentially buying when there's a lot more homes on the market and perhaps not as competitive in terms of the buyer market. So there's a lot to be done there around that. Start preparing too. Usually in many cases what happens, it becomes a mad scramble at the end. We're all guilty of that, myself included as well. But thinking about that preparation and starting to do it in advance is key. But then, it all goes much, much smoother in terms of doing that. There's lots of information on our website. Danny put together an array, must be over 100 videos probably, the Seller Essential video series, covering an array of different topics. That's on our website. If you go to our main page and you see video library, click on that big button, then go to Sellers Essentials. We've organized it by general topics, before you come on the market, and after you have accepted offers. So it's been organized, but there are a huge number of videos, relatively small, 5-6 minutes, nothing more than that. So I'd recommend highly that you actually go to take a look at that. Also, get us in to do a no obligation market analysis. What is my home worth? And at the same time, there's some advice that we can give you too. So that's there too. Buyer's Masterclass. I mentioned before that we do many of these topics, we kind of turn them around from a buyer's perspective. But from a seller's perspective, it's really important to understand the buying process. You may not have done it for 5, 10, 20 years ago. So listen into a buyer's masterclass. We have a lot of them on our website, is on our blog page as well. Lots of different versions there. Look through one of those. It explains a lot about the buying process. It explains the logistics of the offer process too, of course, but also takes you right from the beginning all the way through to, how do I search for a home? Where do I search? What are the key things I should begin to think about? All of that's there, as well as the process of buying a home, kind of the converse of the listing side too. So, almost finished. So that was kind of the seminar. Why do we do this? What's kind of key around this? And we were kind of thinking about this, and what our aim here is we really do want our clients to be the smartest person at the closing table. We want you to have all of that information, because all of us, buyers, sellers, everybody, they really do benefit from knowing more and becoming smarter about that home buying and selling process. So hopefully you enjoyed the seminar this evening. Sorry about Danny and her allergies. She's been like that all day, I'm afraid. But I guess it's that time of year when the pollen count kicks in, and Danny suffers a little bit from that. So I want to thank you for listening. Lots of information here. We love talking about this, as you can imagine. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. Go on our website. Reach out to us with any questions you have. We can tell you almost everything about real estate, and we love talking about it as well. So with that, I want to thank you for listening this evening, and we'll do this again next month. Also, I will be doing market reviews in a month's time too. Historical ones are on the website. So until then, I'll say goodbye from me and goodbye from Danny. So bye.